Hello, my friends, and welcome back. Thank you very much for being with me again today. Happy New Year to you, my friends, and to your families, to the loved ones. I hope the next year, 2025, will bring a better year, a perfect year, a fantastic year for all of us. No complaints here for 2024. Everything was fantastic, and thank you for being with me here. Unfortunately, we have to, because I speak in, plural here, we have to uncover and expose the lies, hypocrisy, and weaselness of the guys who pretend to be the perfect ones and being actually in charge of us. This video will have to do with what I would call a European genocide. And the European genocide is not conducted by the Europeans. This is my assessment, my conclusion of this event. I think it's conducted by people alien to the Western civilization. And when I talk about Western civilization, I am not talking about the Judeo-Christian thing. I'm talking about the Greco-Roman thing, all right? So what do we have here? Ukraine, let's start differently. You know that depriving someone of his or her basic needs, it's a crime. When you do this on a massive scale, that becomes genocidal, especially when it's with the intent of eliminating that group. In this case, what I think happens, it's the destruction of the Europeans. And when I talk about the Europeans, I'm not talking about, people who came into Europe and then they became Europeans. I'm talking about those Europeans. Who's doing this? You can easily figure it out as I'm talking. What happened? Ukraine, who has an Z-stein as the elected official, the president Zelensky, who obviously appointed Zmihal, another Z-stein, as the prime minister, who had Reznikov Stein as the defense minister, who have Yermak Stein as a president's office chief, and many others, decided to turn off the cheap gas transit from Russia going to especially Eastern Europe or Europe. So they decided that they will deprive Europe of cheap natural gas coming from Russia. And I will have here some reactions. People who I call them traitors, who hail this greatest achievement. Why? They're not part of it. They're outside of it. They have different interests. And this reminds me of that incident in Gaza. Remember Gaza? Wasn't the same tactic applied to Gaza by the guys in charge of Gaza, actually, who stopped the, electricity, water, things like this? Now, however you want to call that, by international law standards, if we still look at them, and the humanitarian laws, or how you want to call it, the standards, the values, cutting off someone's supply of basic needs, which in this case is heat and other things that work using natural gas, for instance, to a population, to a, how should I put it, to countries, nations, I think that is genocidal. That's my assessment of that. The Russians did not stop sending the gas. The Ukrainians turned off. Okay? Why? If you ask the city or whomever, or you make a deal with a company to provide you electricity in your house and you don't pay, what do you think happens? You would say normally the company gives you warnings. If you can't pay it at a certain time, they will shut it off. So the fact that the Ukrainians did not pay with all the money that they received from us, given by these traitors, they could have been able to pay the Russian Gazprom for the transit. But they didn't want that, because it's not about the Ukrainians here. It's about the Europeans, and the guys in charge of some Europeans are traitors. All right, so let me show you the reactions. I think this is a clear example of depriving nations of basic needs. I know it's not completely, but your lives in Europe will go down, and we, the guys in charge of us in the United States of America, with their sponsors, the guys who actually own the United States of America, they will move in Ukraine. I will explain. So let's start with this first article. I have about 10 articles up here and the map. So let's start with this one. Ukrainska Pravda. European Union says it's ready for Ukraine's suspension of Russian natural gas transit. Please pay attention to this, these terms. When they say EU, European Union, it's not the people. It's some in charge of everybody. So they are ready, not the people, because this suspension of Russian natural gas into Europe is going to affect the people, not the guys in charge of the people. They will be unaffected. I guarantee you that, unless they get, pitchfork and torches around. So please make a distinction between the guys in charge of a country. They speak in the name of the country, like the Poles, like the Austrians that I have here. They will talk about it and look at what's going on, because your lives, your industries, your economy is going to go down. Why? You will purchase, these guys in charge of you and me, in this case, well, I'm in the United States of America, so God bless, okay? These guys will make decisions on you that you in Europe will pay more for gas. Your lifestyle, your standard of living will decrease. And if you're okay with that, think that your children's standard of living will decrease as well. They will have a harder life than you had. Now, if you have a fantastic life, good for you. But your children will pay more in taxes, will buy products more expensive, and their incomes will be lower. They pay a lot for the energy, for basic needs, heat, right, shelter, maybe food. Everything is processed, transported, and so on. So let's go to the remember, European Union says, make that distinction. Next one, Ukraine stops transiting Russian gas. So remember, it was not the Russians. When these guys in the West will tell you that the Russians did it, it's the Ukrainian, and this is Ukrainska Pravda, coming from the Ukrainians, January 1st. Ukraine stopped transiting Russian gas on the morning of 1st of January, and the gas transmission system is currently operating a non-transit mode. Got it? At 7 a.m. Kiev time on January 2025 1st, the agreement on cooperation between gas transmission system operator of Ukraine and Gazprom from the physical points of connection between the gas transition system and Ukraine and the Russian Federation expired. Therefore, they didn't want to extend it. Not the Russians. The Russian says, you owe me. What contract should we make? Pay, ask your masters to give us the money. They will not give you, and that's going to affect the people, the Ukrainians and the Europeans. And their leader think that that's a good price to pay. Let me show you the pipelines. Right here. Gas pipelines in Europe. So these are obviously through Ukraine in here. UPU, Soyuz. Right? Planned suspension, Soyuz suspended. So these two are gone in here. This, what you see here, this is a Yamal suspended, goes to Germany. All right, now look at this right here, and these are to Turkey on south and through the Black Sea. This is Nord Stream 1, Nord Stream 2 pipelines blown up by you know who. And these little dots here are operational LNG, liquefied natural gas imports. This is where the Americans bring it to you to save you. Do you see anything here? In Central Europe here, you don't see shit. You see here maybe in Poland or whatever these are here, Germans and blah, blah, blah. All right, move on. Large-scale gas cut-offs in Transnistria, homes and boiler rooms left without heat. This comes from the Ukrainska Pravda, the Ukrainians, telling us that Transnistria has no heat. Who did that? Right there. But they say it. Large-scale gas cutoffs has begun in the unrecognized Republic of Transnistria and Moldova on January 1st, affecting boiler rooms, houses, and apartment buildings with autonomous heating. Now, let me ask you this. All right, let's say you support Ukraine. Okay, you support Ukraine. Does it mean that the people of Transnistria value less than the people in Ukraine? No. There are people like you and I going about with our lives, with our stripes, with our aspirations, hopes. So they are the ones affected. So if you celebrate, or someone celebrates, that the people in Transnistria, which is politically a breakaway region from, I don't know, Romania, I don't call it Moldova, all right? Then what kind of person are you? I gave you this analogy many times. You are in front of a lake, and in the lake you see two people, a North Korean and a South Korean drowning. You're gonna fly eagerly in front of your girlfriend, and you're gonna save the South Korean. Why? We love South Koreans. And then, would you go and save the North Korean too? Of course you should. But you will look around first and see if people see you doing that. Why? Because you were conditioned by the master of our news and entertainment industry to dislike and hate certain kind of, you know what I mean. So that's what I'm talking about, these guys in Moldova. They are celebrating that. We should not. This is a genocidal move. And what's going to happen? They say the Russians should not benefit out of this. The Russians, I will show you, will be not affected as the Europeans. So it's like I want to hurt you, but I hurt myself more. Does it make sense? And I make the decision to try to hurt you, which actually hurts me more, from someone else. Someone else who's not affected of this is profiting because of this action that I'm taking, is profiting over this, makes me hurt myself more than hurting you. Why would I do this? Unless I'm crazy or the brain is not actually working for me, is against me, which are traitors in this case. Let me show you further. Russia Today. Transnistria switches off heating after Ukraine halts gas transit. Only medical facilities will be kept warm in Moldova's breakaway region. So if you love the Ukrainians, I think you should love those guys in Transnistria as well. Children, civilians, they're affected. So if you tell me that they should pressure the political class to change its course, therefore the Americans will give them, well, then why don't you do that with other, how should I put it, political systems or people in charge? If going with a pitchfork and a torch towards the parliament is acceptable nowadays in Georgia, for instance, or wherever we want, why wouldn't that be available in Europe or in the United States of America? If you tell me because we're better, look at the common denominator of shit over here, and you're going to find out is the forces of good always defending against the forces of bad. And the forces of bad are the ones that these guys, the forces of self-identified good, point to as being and label as such. Next one. Let me show you how, again, we, Ukrainska Pravda, we are no longer dependent on Russian gas. And that's a good thing. Austrian energy minister, this baboon, says. So we, who's we? So it's like I tell my children, my dear children, we're not going to have toys anymore, not even food. But hey, we're independent. Yeah, we're going to die. It's fine, man. It's fine. And you know what? In the meantime, we're going to become the servants / of the other guy. How about that? Aren't you celebrating that? So we are no longer dependent. Let's celebrate. That's a good thing. But it's like this. You have a consumer. I talked about Elon Musk and the energy department, which I like. But you have a consumer. You want to be effective. You diminish the consumption. When do you get the best consumption? When there's no consumer. So yes, we are no longer dependent. You're going to be no longer dependent when you're not going to have any Austrians in Austria. They would be, you reach the fantastic perfection. Remember, this is one person, a minister, appointed official, telling we are no longer. Who's hurt? The Austrian people. Let me show you this traitor, that's how I call this guy, and I'm going to show you who this guy is. Poland, again, welcomes the country welcomes termination of Russian gas transit to Europe. Sikorski, Polish foreign minister, appointed Radzislaw Sikorski, has welcomed Ukraine's suspension of gas transit. Today, I'm quoting, Ukraine cut off his ability to export gas directly to us, to European Union. Another victory. after the enlargement of NATO by Finland and Sweden. The Polish foreign minister said. So he is happy for self-flagellation. I mean, don't get me wrong. For values, you should, stand for and be hurt about. I mean, that's your value. This is your how should I put him? Your principles. Yes, you should stand up for them and fight until you. Okay, but this is not about values here. They try to turn it into, well, if they're evil Russians, we're gonna destroy them with our values. No, it's not like that. That's the problem. If this other option, the United States of America, and these guys behind all this, will be really as we are supposed to think they are, I'm all for it. But it's not. It's not like this. And I'm hurt. My family is hurt. For whom exactly? For Zelensky? For Putin? All this could have been eliminated. But somehow we have now values about family. Yeah, family and so on. But they want to destroy that here in the United States of America. So that's Sikorsky. Let me show you who this Sikorsky is. Polish foreign minister slammed for celebrating gas cutoffs. Sikorsky has been criticized online for declaring the end of the Russian gas imports via Ukraine a victory. Well, let's see who this Radoslav is. Radoslav has dual citizenship, Polish and British. He worked in England and Great Britain as a media guy, this beautiful guy. But that's not really what it's important. He is very educated. Right here. He worked in Sunday Telegraph, right there. You see Tatler magazine. He's a guy with British citizenship. That's not what I care. I care about this. Look, he's an educated. He studied philosophy, politics, economics at University of Oxford. You got that? All right. What I care is about his wife. Ryder. How do you like this woman? Huh? How do you like this woman? Do you know who she is? That's his wife. Well, again, she is a Anne Elizabeth Applebaum. All right? Right. And they tell us she's from a Reform Jewish family, whatever that is. Anyway, so she is as well in the news and entertainment industry. So this is your boy. All right, this is your boy right here, Radoslav, appointed, moved around, and he could be elected. Let's see what the adult says about this, which is, the traitor Fico, or Fico, the Prime Minister of Slovakia, will affect European Union, not Russia. Fico addresses halt of Russian gas transit in New York speech. So I think this is the adult in the room. And yeah, I know. Putin sends him a check every month, like sends to others, okay? So yeah, that's the way it goes. You disagree with me, you must be a bad person, we're gonna fuck you up. Well, I think Fico is the guy who really tells the truth here. So what's Slovakia going to do? They're going to try to hold electricity transit to Ukraine. It's okay, they will activate other slaves like Romania and others. They will make it somehow. Or they will just impose some sanctions on Slovakia, and maybe Mr. Fico is going to dodge some more bullets. Okay, next one. Let me show you another person here. German energy official asks citizens to save gas. So this is what you're gonna do, my friends. That's exactly what you're gonna do when these guys are going to tell you that the combustion engine for your cars should not work anymore. We're gonna use only batteries. And you cannot drive, 500 miles per one tank or for one charge. No, you're gonna drive only 50 miles. That's it. And when you turn off the engine, whatever you got, the battery of your car, you have to get an approval from someone else. And you probably have to say, I'm going to grocery stores here, like I used to do in some of my jobs in the past. You have to indicate, I'm going to go to this interview, these people, see these people from there to there. You have to give them exactly where you go. Why? Because you get the car of the institution with you. Anyway, they have GPS and they know where you are at any moment, but you have to do it yourself. Waste of time. So here you're going to do the same thing. These guys are going to say, well, too much emissions. That means you can't drive. We are all together in this. The same thing with the consumption. They would put quota on how much gas, electricity, and many other things you should consume. How much water, how much air you should use. Who are those people? Who are they to decide for you? Well, some people who are in charge of us, obviously. So German energy official asked citizens to save gas. Consumption jumped by almost 6% in the final 3 months of 2024, according to grid chief Klaus Müller. So it jumped 6%. Oh, that's bad. That's what? Lifestyle? People? Immigrants that you bring in? No? So you can't have it both. So what does that mean? Save gas. Use less. Use less. So when you want to put on a stove some eggs, don't have them all done. Have them halfway done. You saved energy. You're going to eat that? Well, give it to your children. The children will get sick. And then you go and get and help big. Good job. All right, next one. Let me show you. Here. Ukraine ends transit of Russian gas to European Union. Slovakia has threatened to cut electricity to Kiev following the suspension. Halting Russian gas flow to European Union, and I'm quoting, historic event, Ukraine says. Kiev refused to renew a contract with Moscow that finished on January, jeopardizing energy supplies to the bloc. It's an historic. From one boss to another boss. Transnistria switches. EU State Prime Minister warns of severe consequences over Kiev's gas halts. Russia-Ukraine gas transit deal ends. Why it matters? Obviously, Polish slammed. So this is what's going on, my friends. Plus this, Ukraine halts Russian gas transit through its territory, ending reliance on Gazprom. So what's going to happen next? They're going to get liquefied natural gas from some companies that sell it much more expensive, or more expensive. That's what's going to be. Who's that? United States of America. I covered that 2 or 3 days ago when it was the first article. The first transport of American liquefied gas was delivered to Ukraine. Hurrah! What does that mean? So you're not going to be blackmailed by the Russians, but you could be blackmailed by United States of America's interests, not United States of America, interests, because the interests use countries and their military and their economic and political power to go and sell and have a profit. That's the whole racket here. So congratulations. Now you could have been blackmailed by Russia, but now definitely you can be blackmailed by United States of America. Oh, you say we don't blackmail? We, including all of us, being inclusive, we impose sanctions on whomever doesn't want to bend over and take it fucking deep. What's that? You don't do that, I'm gonna destroy you economically. What's that? Economic genocide, my friends. And this, I think, is a genocidal move. Coming from not the Ukrainians, the guys in charge of Ukraine, the Zelensky Steins, the whomever, and blah, 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 blah. Remember, look around on all these politicians, global politicians, even in Romania, and look for Romanians. I don't know, Prime Minister of, let's say, France is a Romanian, or the Prime Minister or Foreign Minister, let's say, of Germany, or I don't know, the Finance Minister of the United States of America, let's say, is a Romanian. None. Hungarian, none. Polish, none. Why? Are we more stupider than the other ones? Are we stupider? No, I don't think so. So what could that be? Well, I want you to connect the dots. All right? Thank you very much for being with me again today. And remember, Gaza, remember, stay strong, stay smart, look for the truth, and be just.